You think you know betrayal? Try watching your wife burn your passport with a smile, telling you to stay home with the kids, while she jets off to Cabo with her personal trainer. She called me a failure, a poor husband who'd never amount to anything. What she didn't know was that 48 hours earlier, I'd signed a deal that made me $120 million richer. She thought she was leaving behind a broken man. She had no idea what kind of storm she just unleashed. My name is Tyler Brooks. I'm 43 years old, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. A beautiful wife, 2 amazing kids, and a tech company that was finally hitting its stride. What I didn't know was that my wife had been planning her exit strategy while I was planning our next family vacation. The moment everything changed happened on a Tuesday morning in our kitchen in Austin, Texas. I was making coffee, still in my pajamas, when I heard the distinctive sound of a match being struck. I turned around to see Deanna holding my passport over the gas stove, the blue cover already starting to curl and blacken. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted, rushing toward her. She stepped back, a cold smile spreading across her face as she watched the flames consume my only form of international identification. "Solving a problem," she said, her voice eerily calm. "Deanna, that's my passport. I need that for the business trip to London next week." She laughed, a sound that sent chills down my spine. "You're not going anywhere, Tyler. Stay home with the kids. That's what good husbands do when their wives need a break." I stared at the charred remains falling into the sink, my mind racing. A break? What kind of break requires burning my passport? "The kind where I finally get to live a little," she said, tossing her hair back. "Marcus and I are flying to Cabo tomorrow. Someone needs to watch Otis and Dana while I'm gone." Marcus. My blood ran cold. Marcus Rivera, the personal trainer from her gym. The guy she'd been getting fitness advice from for the past 6 months. "You're taking a vacation with your trainer?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm taking a vacation with a man who actually appreciates me," she snapped. "A man who doesn't spend every waking moment staring at computer screens and ignoring his wife." The kids came running into the kitchen, attracted by the raised voices. Dana, my 9-year-old, looked between us with worried eyes, while 5-year-old Otis clung to my leg. "Daddy, why does it smell funny?" Otis asked. "Mommy was just cooking something," I managed, shooting Deanna a warning look. She bent down and kissed both kids on their foreheads. "Mommy's going on a little trip, sweethearts. Daddy's going to take care of you." After she left to pack, I stood there holding my children, staring at the ashes of my passport in the sink. What Deanna didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was that I'd signed the deal of my lifetime just 48 hours earlier. TaskFlow had been acquired by a major corporation for $120 million. The papers were sitting in my home office, waiting for the right moment to surprise her. I guess the surprise was on me instead. That night, as I watched her throw clothes in her Louis Vuitton suitcase, the one I'd bought her for our anniversary, I made a decision. If she wanted to play games, I'd show her how the game was really played. She thought she was leaving behind a broken man who'd beg her to come back. She had no idea what was coming. I barely slept that night. While Deanna was snoring peacefully next to me, probably dreaming about margaritas and Marcus's abs, I was wide awake, staring at the ceiling and planning my next move. She had no clue what storm was brewing right beside her. At 5 a.m., I heard her alarm go off. She rolled out of bed with more energy than I'd seen from her in months, humming some tune as she headed to the bathroom. I pretended to be asleep, watching through barely open eyes as she applied makeup like she was getting ready for a photo shoot. "Tyler," she whispered, shaking my shoulder. "I'm leaving for the airport in an hour. The kids' schedules are on the fridge." I mumbled something and rolled over, still playing dead. What she didn't see was the slight smile on my face. 30 minutes later, I heard the front door slam shut, followed by the sound of an Uber pulling away. That's when I sprang into action. First call was to my lawyer, Jennifer Walsh. "Jen, it's Tyler. I need you in the office today. Emergency situation." "Tyler, it's not even 6 in the morning," Jennifer said, but I could hear her moving around. "My wife just left for Cabo with her personal trainer. She burned my passport to make sure I couldn't follow. I need to protect myself and the kids." There was a pause. "Jesus, Tyler. I'll be in by 7. Bring everything." Next, I call my business partner, Craig Thompson. He'd been with me since TaskFlow was just a crazy idea in my garage. "Dude, you sound terrible," Craig said when he picked up. "Deanna left me for a trainer. I said bluntly. Craig, remember that acquisition deal we signed Monday? The 120 million? Yeah, what about it? She doesn't know about it yet. She thinks I'm broke. I need you to keep this quiet until I figure out my next move. Craig whistled low. Man, she picked the worst possible time to bail. What do you need? Help me disappear this money before she comes back. Offshore accounts, LLCs, whatever it takes. By 8 a.m., the kids were awake and asking where Mommy went. I made them pancakes and told them she was visiting a friend. Dana seemed suspicious, but Otis bought it completely. Daddy, can we go to Chuck E. Cheese today? Otis asked, syrup covering his chin. Absolutely, buddy, I said, ruffling his hair. We're going to do whatever we want while Mommy's gone. What I didn't tell them was that Mommy might not be coming back to the same house she left. Jennifer was already preparing papers to freeze joint accounts and secure the assets. Craig was setting up shell companies faster than I could sign documents. Deanna thought she was waking up to Costa Rican sunshine and a fresh start. Instead, she was about to discover that her meal ticket had just been canceled. The woman who burned my passport to keep me grounded was about to learn what it felt like to be truly stuck. The shocking surprise wasn't going to be mine after all. Jennifer's office felt like a war room by 9 a.m. Papers spread across her conference table, 3 laptops open, and her paralegal taking notes faster than I could speak. The prenup is solid, Jennifer said, sliding the document across to me. She gets nothing from the business or acquisition funds. What about joint accounts? I asked. Already frozen. Craig transferred the task flow money to the LLC we set up this morning. She'll find out when her car gets declined in Cabo. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the first wave of satisfaction. How long until she notices? Probably when she tries to buy Marcus dinner tonight. Jennifer smirked. Speaking of Marcus, I ran a background check. He's got 3 credit cards maxed out and owes 12 grand in back taxes. Perfect. A gold digger who picked another gold digger. What about the house? I asked. That's trickier. It's jointly owned, but with the acquisition money, you could buy out her half easily. I'm drafting an offer now. My phone buzzed with a text from Deanna. Having amazing time. Weather perfect. Love you. I showed it to Jennifer, who rolled her eyes. Classic cheater move. Overcompensating with fake affection. By noon, I was back home with the kids. We spent the afternoon at the park, Dana pushing Otis on the swings while I watched from a bench, my mind racing with plans. Daddy, you seem happy today, Dana observed, her 9-year-old intuition sharp as always. Just enjoying time with my favorite people, I said, pulling her close. That evening, after the kids were asleep, I got to work. I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Screenshots of Deanna's social media posts with Marcus from the past months, posts I'd stupidly ignored. Bank statements showing suspicious charges at restaurants I'd never been to. Hotel receipts from their business meetings. Craig called around 10 p.m. The shell companies are set up. The money's protected. She can't touch a dime. How fast can we move on the house? Jennifer's filing the buyout papers tomorrow. With cash backing, it'll be done in a week. I walked upstairs and stood in our bedroom doorway. Deanna's perfume still lingered in the air. Her makeup scattered across the dresser like evidence of her deception. Tomorrow, I'd have the locks changed. By the time she got back from her romantic getaway, this wouldn't be her house anymore. My phone rang. Unknown international number. I let it go to voicemail. 3 minutes later, another call. Same number. This time I answered. Tyler. Deanna's voice sounded strained. My card isn't working. The hotel says it was declined. I sat down on the edge of our bed, savoring the moment. That's strange, honey. Maybe call the bank. I tried. They said the account is frozen. Tyler, what's going on? I stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the city lights. I guess you're finding out what happens when you burn bridges, Deanna. The line went quiet for a long moment. Tyler, this isn't funny. I'm stranded here. No, I said calmly. You made your choice. Now live with it. I hung up and turned off my phone. Sitting in my office that night, I couldn't help but think about how we got here. Deanna and I met 11 years ago at a tech conference in Dallas. I was presenting Task Flow's early prototype, and she was working PR for one of the sponsors. She came up to me after my presentation, all smiles and genuine interest. That software could change how small businesses operate, she'd said, her eyes bright with excitement. Back then, she believed in my vision. We'd stay up late talking about the future, making plans for when task flow took off. She'd edit my pitch decks, help me practice presentations, even suggest features that made it into the final product. What changed? When did I stop being the dreamer she fell for and become the obstacle to her happiness? I think it started 3 years ago when her friend Monica married that investment banker. Suddenly, our modest lifestyle wasn't enough. The small house we'd saved for became too cramped. My secondhand car became embarrassing. My work clothes from Target became unprofessional. She started dropping hints about other men's success. Monica's husband just bought her a BMW. Sarah's fiancé surprised her with a trip to Tuscany. Why can't you dress more like Tom's dad? I thought working harder would fix it. More hours coding, more client meetings, more revenue growth. But nothing satisfied her. The success she demanded always seemed just out of reach until it wasn't. Now, with $120 million in the bank, I realized the problem was never my lack of success. It was her lack of loyalty. My laptop chimed with an email from Jennifer. The house buyout papers were ready. I signed them electronically and sent them back. Tomorrow, the house would be mine alone. Another chime. Craig had sent me security footage from TaskFlow's office building. There was Deanna, 6 months ago, meeting Marcus in the parking garage. She'd told me she was having lunch with her sister that day. I saved the video to a folder labeled Evidence and added it to the growing collection. The kids were my priority now. Dana had been acting more mature lately, probably sensing the tension between her parents. Otis was too young to understand, but he'd been clingy recently, as if he knew something was wrong. They deserved better than growing up in a house full of lies and resentment. They deserved a father who wasn't distracted by a wife who didn't respect him. Most importantly, they deserved to see what real strength looked like. Not the fake bravado Deanna mistook for weakness, but the quiet determination to protect what mattered. I closed the laptop and headed upstairs. Tomorrow, I'd start building our new life. No more walking on eggshells. No more apologizing for my success. No more pretending that Deanna's disrespect was normal. She thought burning my passport would ground me. Instead, she'd set me free. 3 days passed before Deanna finally made it back to Austin. I was in my office when I heard the Uber pull up outside. Through the security camera app on my phone, I watched her drag her suitcase up the front walkway, looking exhausted and defeated. She fumbled with her keys at the front door, then tried the keypad. The code didn't work. I'd changed it 2 days ago. "Tyler," she shouted, pounding on the door. "Tyler, open this door right now." I didn't move from my desk chair. The kids were at school, so there was no need to shield them from this drama. "I know you're in there," she yelled, her voice getting higher. "This is my house, too." Actually, it wasn't. Jennifer had filed the buyout papers yesterday. The house was now officially mine. My phone started ringing. Deanna's number. I let it go to voicemail. Then she tried again. And again. Finally, I answered. "What do you want, Deanna?" "Let me in the house. I live here." I walked to the window and looked down at her. She was sitting on the front steps, her designer luggage scattered around her like debris from a shipwreck. "You chose to leave," I said calmly. "Actions have consequences. Tyler, please." "Marcus, he left me at the airport. Said he couldn't afford the hotel bill and flew back without me. I had to max out my credit card just to get home." I almost felt sorry for her. "Almost. That's unfortunate," I said. "Maybe you should call your sister." "My sister thinks I'm an idiot." "Tyler, I made a mistake, okay? Can we please talk about this like adults?" We tried talking like adults. You burned my passport and ran off with your trainer. I was confused. I felt trapped. You're always working, and I felt invisible. I sat back down at my desk, looking at the task flow acquisition documents. You felt invisible because you made yourself invisible. You stopped supporting my dreams and started resenting my success. "What success?" she snapped. "Tyler, you run a tiny software company out of a spare bedroom." I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. "Actually, I ran a tiny software company. Past tense. What are you talking about?" TaskFlow was acquired Monday for $120 million. The same day you burned my passport. The silence stretched for a full 30 seconds. "You're lying," she whispered. "The contracts are sitting right here on my desk. Would you like me to email you a copy?" I heard her start crying through the phone. "Tyler, please. I didn't know. If I had known." "If you had known, you would have stuck around to get your hands on the money. But you didn't believe in me, Deanna. You never did. I believe in you now. Please let me come home. This isn't your home anymore. I bought out your half. You'll receive the paperwork from my attorney tomorrow. I hung up and watched through the camera as she sat on my front steps, sobbing into her hands. Part of me wanted to feel victorious, but mostly I just felt empty. The woman I'd loved for 11 years had chosen Marcus over me. Now she wanted back in because I had money that told me everything I needed to know about who she really was. A week later, I was sitting across from Amanda Rodriguez, a journalist from Austin Business Weekly who'd been trying to interview me about the TaskFlow acquisition. I'd finally agreed to meet her at a coffee shop downtown, away from the drama at home. So the timing of your wife's departure was purely coincidental? Amanda asked, her pen poised over her notepad. My personal life is private, I said. But I will say that major life changes often reveal people's true character. Amanda was sharp. She'd clearly done her homework. Sources tell me TaskFlow success came from your ability to understand what small businesses really need. What do you think they need most right now? Authenticity, I said without hesitation. Too many people are focused on image instead of substance. Real businesses are built on trust and consistent delivery. Speaking of authenticity, there are rumors about your wife's social media presence. I held up a hand. I won't comment on that. But Amanda's question got me thinking. Deanna's Instagram was still full of motivational quotes about living your truth and following your heart. The irony was painful. After the interview, I drove to Dana's school for her parent-teacher conference. Ms. Patterson, her fourth-grade teacher, had requested the meeting. Dana's been different lately, Ms. Patterson said as we sat in tiny plastic chairs. More mature, but also more withdrawn. She's taking care of Otis more than usual. Her mother and I are going through some changes. I explained. I'm trying to keep things stable for them. She mentioned that her mom is on vacation, but seemed confused about when she's coming back. I nodded. I'm planning to have that conversation with them this weekend. That evening, after homework and dinner, I sat both kids down in the living room. Where's Mommy really? Dana asked, her 9-year-old eyes too knowing. Mommy and I need some time apart. I said carefully. She's staying somewhere else for a while. Is it because she's mad at you? Otis asked, crawling into my lap. Sometimes adults have disagreements, I said, hugging him close. But this isn't about being mad. It's about making the best choices for our family. Are you and Mommy getting divorced? Dana asked quietly. I looked at my daughter, so smart and perceptive. Maybe sweetheart. But no matter what happens between Mommy and me, nothing changes how much we both love you. That night, after they were asleep, I called Craig to discuss TaskFlow's transition plan. The acquiring company wanted me to stay on as a consultant, which would give me flexibility to focus on the kids. You sure you're okay with stepping back? Craig asked. The company will be in good hands. Besides, I've got more important things to focus on now. I hung up and walked through the quiet house. It felt different without Deanna's constant criticism and drama. Peaceful almost. My phone buzzed with a text from her. Please, can we talk? I'm staying at a motel. I have nowhere else to go. I stared at the message for a long time before deleting it. Deanna had made her choice when she chose Marcus over our family. The fact that Marcus had abandoned her didn't change anything. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. 6 weeks after Deanna's return from Cabo, she finally cornered me at Dana's soccer game. I was sitting on the sidelines, cheering for my daughter, when Deanna approached with her lawyer in tow. Tyler, we need to talk, she said, sitting down next to me uninvited. About what? I kept my eyes on the field where Dana was dribbling toward the goal. About our marriage. About giving us another chance. Her lawyer, a thin man in an expensive suit, cleared his throat. Mr. Brooks, my client, is willing to enter couples counseling and make significant lifestyle changes. I finally looked at them. What kind of changes? I'll delete all my social media, Deanna said quickly. I'll stop seeing Marcus completely. I'll even get a job to show you I'm serious about contributing. A job. I almost laughed. Deanna, you haven't worked in 7 years. I can learn. I can change. Her voice was getting desperate. Dana scored a goal, and I stood up to cheer. When I sat back down, I looked directly at Deanna. You had 11 years to change. You chose to burn my passport instead. I made one mistake. One mistake? Deanna, you've been planning this affair for months. You've been lying to me, stealing from our joint accounts, and humiliating me in front of our children. Her lawyer leaned forward. Mr. Brooks, perhaps we could discuss a reconciliation agreement with certain conditions. There's nothing to discuss, I said firmly. The divorce papers will be filed Monday morning. Deanna started crying. Tyler, please. I love you. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. I stood up as the game ended and Dana ran toward us. You don't love me, Deanna. You love the idea of $120 million. There's a huge difference. Daddy, Dana called out, grass stains on her uniform and a huge smile on her face. Did you see my goal? I saw it, sweetheart. You were amazing. I hugged her tight, then looked back at Deanna. This conversation is over. As I walked away with Dana, I heard Deanna call out, Tyler, you're making a huge mistake. No, I said without turning around. I'm fixing one. That evening, after putting the kids to bed, I called Jennifer to confirm our Monday meeting. The divorce would be straightforward thanks to the prenup, and I'd have full custody since Deanna had effectively abandoned the children. You sure about this? Jennifer asked. She seems pretty desperate to reconcile. She's desperate for the money, not for me. If I'd lost everything in a business failure, she'd already be filing divorce papers herself. Fair point. I'll have everything ready for Monday. I hung up and poured myself a whiskey, looking out at the Austin skyline. Tomorrow, I'd start building a new life for me and the kids. No more walking on eggshells. No more pretending Deanna's disrespect was normal. Dana and Otis deserved to see what real strength looked like. Not dramatic gestures and emotional manipulation, but the quiet determination to protect what mattered most. 3 months later, I was standing in the task flow headquarters, cleaning out my office. The acquisition was complete, and I decided to step back from day-to-day operations to focus on my family and new ventures. Craig walked in carrying a box of my personal items. Hard to believe it's over, he said. It's not over. It's just beginning. I picked up a photo of Dana and Otis from my desk. This was always about building something for them. What's next for the great Tyler Brooks? I smiled. I'm thinking about education technology. Something to help kids learn coding and problem solving. Following in your mother's footsteps. My mother had been an elementary school teacher who always believed technology could revolutionize education. She'd passed away 5 years ago, but her influence shaped everything I built. She always said the best teachers help students teach themselves. I said, I want to build something that honors that philosophy. That evening, I picked up the kids from their new after-school program. Deanna had visitation rights, but she'd only exercised them twice in 3 months. Apparently, being a single mother was harder than Instagram made it look. Dad, can we get pizza tonight? Otis asked from his car seat. Absolutely. Extra cheese. And pepperoni. Dana added from the front passenger seat. At the pizza place, Dana surprised me with a question. Dad, are you dating anyone? I nearly choked on my soda. Why do you ask? Jessica's mom got divorced, and she's dating this nice guy now. He takes Jessica to baseball games. Are you asking because you want me to date someone? Or because you're worried I might? Dana thought about it seriously. I think you should date someone nice. Someone who likes your work and doesn't yell about money. Out of the mouths of babes. Well, if I ever do meet someone, you and Otis will definitely get to meet her first. Deal. Deal, Dana said, sealing it with a handshake. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I opened my laptop and started sketching out ideas for the education platform. Something interactive, engaging, built around real problem-solving rather than rote memorization. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Tyler, this is Marcus. I need to talk to you about Deanna. She's been calling me nonstop. I think she's having some kind of breakdown. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Deanna's mental health wasn't my responsibility anymore. She made her choice when she chose him over our family. I closed the laptop and walked through the quiet house. Everything felt different now. Peaceful, purposeful, authentic. No more pretending. No more walking on eggshells. No more sacrificing my dignity for someone who never appreciated it. The kids were thriving. I had the resources to build whatever I wanted. And, for the first time in years, I was excited about the future. Deanna had burned my passport thinking she was grounding me. Instead, she'd set me free to soar higher than I'd ever imagined possible. 1 year after Deanna burned my passport, I found myself at a tech conference in Denver, presenting my new education platform, Codecraft. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was finally taking those business trips she'd try to prevent. Learning to code should be like playing a game, I told the audience of educators and entrepreneurs. Kids don't need more lectures. They need more adventures. After my presentation, a woman approached me near the coffee station. She had intelligent eyes and a warm smile that seemed genuine. Tyler Brooks? I'm Rachel Martinez. I run coding camps for underserved kids in Colorado, she said, extending her hand. Your platform could revolutionize what we're doing. We talked for an hour about education, technology, and the importance of giving kids tools to build their own futures. Rachel understood my vision immediately, not because she wanted something from me, but because she shared the same passion. Would you like to grab dinner? I asked as the conference wound down. I'd love to hear more about your programs. I'd like that, she said. That evening, over steaks and local beer, I found myself relaxing in a way I hadn't in years. Rachel asked thoughtful questions about codecraft, shared stories about her students, and never once mentioned money or status. What made you start the coding camps? I asked. My brother. He was brilliant with computers but couldn't afford college. He taught himself everything from library books and free online courses. I want to give other kids those same opportunities. When I flew back to Austin the next day, I had Rachel's business card and a sense of excitement I hadn't felt since my early days with TaskFlow. Dana noticed immediately. Dad, you seem different. Happy different. I met someone interesting at the conference. A teacher who runs coding camps. Is she nice? Otis asked from his spot on the couch. Very nice. And she understands what I'm trying to build. 3 months later, Rachel visited Austin for a CodeCraft pilot program. The kids loved her immediately. She spoke their language and treated them like partners, not obstacles. She's perfect for you, Dad, Dana whispered as we watched Rachel help Otis debug his first simple program. That evening, after the kids were in bed, Rachel and I sat on my back porch, talking about everything and nothing. You know what I like most about you? She said, looking up at the stars. What's that? You build things that matter. Your ex-wife never understood that, did she? How did you know about Deanna? Google. But also, the way you talk about your work. Like you're proud of it, but surprised someone else appreciates it. I took her hand. I'm not surprised anymore. For the first time in over a year, I felt like I was home. 2 years later, I stood in the backyard of our new house in the hills outside Austin, watching Dana teach her little brother how to program a robot they'd built together. Rachel sat beside me on the deck, grading papers from her latest batch of coding students. Hard to believe where we started, Rachel said, looking up from her work. You mean with a burned passport and a cheating wife? I mean with 2 people who believed in building something real. The wedding had been small, just family and close friends. Dana served as my best person, while Otis handled ring-bearing duties with military precision. Rachel's brother performed the ceremony, talking about how the best partnerships are built on shared values and mutual respect. Deanna hadn't attended, obviously. She'd moved to Dallas after the divorce was finalized, working as a receptionist at a dental office. Marcus had disappeared entirely after Costa Rica, apparently moving back to California. According to Jennifer, Deanna's social media following had dwindled to a few hundred people, mostly relatives and former high school classmates. Dad, come see this. Dana called out. She'd programmed their robot to navigate an obstacle course using sensors and basic AI. That's incredible, sweetheart, I said, genuinely impressed. At 11, she was already thinking like an engineer. Rachel helped me with the sensor array, Dana said proudly. CodeCraft had launched successfully, with over 200 schools using the platform and thousands of kids learning to code through interactive adventures. Rachel's Colorado camps had expanded to 5 states, funded partly by the TaskFlow acquisition money. That evening, after the kids were asleep, Rachel and I sat in my office, planning our next venture, a nonprofit that would provide free coding education to rural communities. Your mother would be proud, Rachel said, looking at the photo of my mom on my desk. She'd love you, I said, putting my arm around Rachel's shoulders. She always said the best people are the ones who make others better. My phone buzzed with a text from Craig. New acquisition offer came in for CodeCraft. Want to hear the number? I showed the message to Rachel, who shrugged. Your call. But remember what happened the last time you got rich. I typed back. Not interested. This one's not for sale. Some things were worth more than money. Like a wife who understood your dreams instead of burning them. Like kids who saw their father as a role model instead of an ATM. Like building something that would help thousands of children long after you were gone. Deanna had burned my passport thinking she was grounding me. Instead, she'd forced me to discover I could fly higher than I'd ever imagined. Not just financially, but emotionally, spiritually, completely. The man she tried to control had become someone she could never have deserved. And the life she'd tried to destroy had become everything she claimed to want, but never understood how to appreciate. Justice wasn't about revenge. It was about becoming the person you were meant to be despite those who try to stop you.